Johnny,
What's happening?
you hear me and see me?
I can. How about you?
Yeah, awesome, great. I love the studio you got. Is that? I'm assuming that's part of the studio, or?
Yeah, it's just in my apartment. It's like my own little creation room away from the rest of my apartment where I stream and make music and shit. Am I late? Because this Zoom thing just said 4 o'clock, but on my email it says 4:10.
Oh yeah, no. I for some reason I don't think you can set it to 4:10. It
Okay.
only gives you 15-minute increments. So no,
Okay.
you're fine.
Okay. Just making sure. I didn't want to be like, oh, I'm 10 minutes.
Wow, that's actually very considerate. Yeah, most people don't. So I get no showed all the time, and no, I don't even get apologies. I'm just like, all right, I guess that's the way it goes.
No, that ain't me. I got no show today too, so
Did
I'm
you
good.
like an
No.
interview person didn't show up?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow, was it a big outlet or?
Yeah, it was decent, but they'll remake it. I guess their Wi-Fi went out or something, and then yeah.
Oh, yeah, that happens sometimes. Yeah, I've had to do interviews like on my phone. Sometimes I'm just like, but now I think I can use my phone as like a hotspot, and it actually works okay. So it's like a good emergency, unless like Verizon's down, then I'm fucked.
Yep.
Yeah. So new album, this is exciting. If I got a copy, advanced copy, so I hope we can talk a little bit about it without giving too much
Sure.
away.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, the latest song's already out, the Summertime Voodoo, which is really cool. Like, I like what you guys are doing. You're kind of doing like different things and exploring. And to me, I love that. I'm assuming that you love that too as an artist.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's
Yeah.
not that I like technically try to go out and explore on purpose. I just do what feels right in the moment. Like I try to make things that are pleasing to me at any given time, you know?
Right. But having that variety of different kinds of music and genres, like I always use that example of like Guns N' Roses. Like I love Appetite. That's a great album, but the Use Your Illusions they're really fun to me because it's all over the place. There's acoustic stuff and there's like industrial and I feel like that's kind of what you guys did with this album. It's like they're exploring a lot of different genres.
Sure. Yeah. I don't like I'm not the best person at breaking down what exactly the music is. I'm just better at making it. So, you know, because a lot of times people are like, you know, well, what do you think this is or that is? I'm like, I don't know. That's not for me to decide, you know. We just played what we thought was fun and decent at the time, you know.
Well, who produced this? Did you guys produce it or did you hire somebody to produce it?
No, we produced it, and then about halfway through the process, we realized that there was a shining talent in the room, which was the engineer. It was just us and one engineer, and we decided to keep it no outside songwriters, no, just us in a fucking room playing our instruments and having some beers for 12 hours a day for 3 months, and really locking in. And we didn't want any outside influence. But our engineer, who has become one of my best friends now, he's such a cool dude. He was just so talented, and we were like, why don't you co-produce? Like, you've got so many great ideas. You know, when we get stuck, he'd be like, well, what if we try this? And I'm like, that's the definition of co-producing. Let's put you in the credits, you know? So no, we didn't like hire or outsource any producers for this album. It's just us, just kind of like the first albums were. But yeah, co-produced by Aleks von Korff, who has also worked with for engineering for Muse and for Lady Gaga and for Coldplay and shit like that. And obviously this album does not sound like Muse, Lady Gaga, or Coldplay, but you know, he's an accredited engineer, and we said, what's up? Fucking keep giving us suggestions and we'll throw you on as co-producer. So that's how that worked.
That's awesome. So what kind of suggestions? Is it more like technical sound levels and things like that, or is it more like arranging the songs as well?
It's both. I mean, he
Okay.
came to the project again just as somebody who I thought initially would press record and wire the mics. But there are times when he would say, you know, we would get stuck on like a snare sound and be like, it's just not quite right. And he would bring out a different snare and tune it differently. Or there are times when we'd be like, is this intro too long or too short, or, you know, so arrangement he would help with too. I mean, it was just like the fifth Beatle. He became a part of the project and a great backboard to bounce ideas off of. And, you know, not every idea he had was amazing. There were sometimes we'd be like, no, nope, you know, but then other times he'd have an idea and we'd be like, oh, that fucking makes sense. And none of us thought of that. So let's use it, you know?
Yeah. Does he act as like the tiebreaker too? Like, do you guys ever have disagreements and you feel strongly about doing a song one way and somebody else feels a different way, and then he comes in as kind of the mediator?
Yeah. Yeah. Almost every fucking measure, almost every measure of a song. I mean, there's 5 of us, so usually we don't need like a tiebreaker necessarily, but there are times when he becomes or became the voice of reason because we would get emotional and he'd be like, nah, guys, relax, like, how about this? How about we take a day off, watch a fucking movie, we'll revisit this with fresh ears. He's just a very patient human. And because he's not like inside the band, he's got a really cool outside perspective that is, a fresh set of ears that maybe we wouldn't have. But yeah, he's also, since, like I said, he's become one of my greatest friends, like a very dear friend. He's an awesome human.
That's awesome yeah, I love that. I'd love to hear that. It sounds like you worked really hard on this. If you're doing 12-hour days in the studio, I think that's the piece that people don't see about being in a band. Like, oh, it just looks so fun. You just go out there and play music and do it and party. And it's like, no, I mean, 12-hour days in a studio, that's a lot of work.
Yeah, there's a lot of shit that people don't see. They don't see that you're running a business as well, and you got to keep track of 30 different employees and do all the logistics for the road. And there's so many different elements of running a successful career that are beyond just getting fucked up and playing on stage. But yeah, we definitely took this album very seriously. We started it. I mean, one of the songs on there is technically 15 years old. The song Mexico was a riff that we used to play in the bar rooms, and I would kind of freestyle some lyrics over. We never finished it. It was just an idea that we had. And then, yeah, we really fleshed it out and fully realized that. So I guess you could say this album's 15 years in the making if you think of it like that. But the other songs, Melatonia was 2020. I wrote that just on my acoustic guitar. And then there's some ideas that started popping up in 2021, 2022. So there's a large variance, with this record from when the songs came from. And then the majority of it was written from November of last year. No, I'm sorry, November of 2022 till the end of summer 2023. That's when the most of it was written.
Okay. So that Mexico song, that is cool. Like sipping a mojito down in Mexico. Did I hear an organ on that song?
There's organ all throughout this album. And I think that's
Okay.
one of the really cool things that separates. A lot of people are going to say, oh, you sound like Mr. Asylum or you sound like Boy Who Died Wolf. And it's like, yeah, I guess in the sense that it's, you're not hearing Ableton beats or anything like that. Like it's all real instruments. So that would be the link. And the fact that it's pretty blues rocky, that would be a link. But I think that thing that separates it the most is, we're a 5-piece now. We've got rhythm guitar and we've got organ. And so we're able to layer a much fuller sound. And always, since the beginning of this band, I've always just like craved having a consistent organ in our recordings because I love listening to the Doors and Santana and some of the classic rock bands from the 60s and 70s that would always have the B3 and the Leslie going, and now we've got that, and I think it just adds such a cool texture to the album that most rock bands aren't fucking with these days. So
yeah, it's got like a classic vibe with a modern twist. Like even the single, you got that. How do you get that tone on the guitar with the echoey kind of spacey blues tone? I mean, is that hard to do, or is that a pretty simple way to do that?
no, I mean it's probably one of my favorite things to do is to work with echo and delay because there's no rules for that. You know what I mean? Like, and there is no, if you're using analog equipment, which I do, you like, it's never going to sound the same twice. Do you know the band Khruangbin?
No.
Okay, check them out because they're really good at that. But we use things like Benson Echo Rex, which are from the 60s, all the way up to current pedals like the Strymon. But all of it is tape echo and tape delay. So you're not using like a computer program. So therefore, it's going to kind of go off the beat a little bit. And really, that's what's going to bring you into that psychedelic mood. Whereas if it was just an echo that's perfectly on the beat every time, which you can do with like, which we do play with sometimes with like the vocal echoes. But for the guitar echo and getting that spacey sound, you want to kind of have it falling off the beat ever so slightly so that you're just kind of polyrhythmic in a different time signature while you're in one time signature, and it just makes your head go like, what the fuck is happening? And that shit will sound different every time because the pedals I'm going to use live, you can't set them to like a digital setting. They're real analog knobs, and so if they move even a eighth of an inch, or the electrons going through the circuitry are hotter one night, then it's going to be a slightly different time pattern. If that makes sense.
Yeah. So like
Nerd
if you play it, what's that?
Nerd alert.
Yeah. You're like, I'm not good at breaking down the songs. But by the way, like, but if you play that live, so it's going to sound different every night.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's actually cool though. That's the whole point of live rock to me, is like, every show is not the same.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it'll sound pretty close. I mean,
Yeah.
we were going to try to, obviously, like, we're not going to be playing playing it in the key of polka, but you know, yeah, the little effects like that, like echoes, and every night it's going to be slightly different. You know what I mean? Which I think is cool.
Right. Yeah. Which
That's the way it
songs will
always
you,
was.
what's that?
That's the way it always was. And no
Yeah.
shade on like the successful artists of today. Obviously, you've got your Taylor Swifts and really successful and talented people out there that are crushing it, but their sets are going to sound so locked in every time. And because we're just doing this with real instruments and you know, our emotions are going to change the way a set sounds. So
Mm.
it's always going to be slightly different every night, which I think is pretty cool.
Yeah. So, cause that is a big like debate right now with rock. Like some bands use tape, some, and then the other ones are more just like, you know, pure and say only real instruments. But I get if you're in a band like Falling in Reverse, you have to use some electronic components.
I have respect for both. I mean, I've done both. We have a few songs off some of our other albums that I've used tracks for, and just lightly though. I don't think we've ever gone into track world the way a lot of bands do, because I don't love it. And plus, you're relying on a computer, and if that computer crashes, like, can you still play the song? Can you replicate it?
Right.
If you have too many tracks that are relying on a laptop, oh man, when that thing crashes, which is inevitable, you know what I mean? These bands, they got to have 3 or 4 laptops backed up, ready to go. If that happens mid-song, it's kind of embarrassing. It's like, oh, can you keep the song going? Is the song good enough to stand alone without all the extra tracks and shit? Can you perform? Are you a performer, or are you, you know? So no, but no shade on it. I've done it. I will probably do it again in the future, you know, especially on certain songs they call for that. You know what I mean? They're like our song 16, Natural Born Killers. These are like songs that kind of got to be locked in, right? And then you got your songs like Serotonin. It's like I would never put a track on that in my life. You know what I mean? So it's just each song is different. This
Right.
this album specifically though, there will be no tracks. Everything you hear on that album was recorded live together in a room, with the exception of maybe a couple overdubs where we'd go back in and like fix up a guitar solo or do some vocal uh tweaking. But for the most part, more so than we've ever done in our lives, this album might as well be a live album.
That's awesome. And you mentioned the song Melatonia. You said that it was written 2020. That's like a really cool, it's a darker, kind of slower. I thought it had kind of a 90s Seattle vibe, like Alice in Chains, maybe, but it was interesting. I heard you talking about 2020, like you don't remember it. It's like almost like you just black that part of your life
Who
out.
does? Who fucking does? I'm not the only person that has forgotten like 2020. I'm
Really?
not.
Because I remember crazy shit going on, like people willing to kill each other over a roll of toilet paper. I don't think I'll ever
Yeah,
forget that shit.
I remember certain things, but certainly not all of it. I mean, it became pretty blurry for me that time period. And but I mean, that's possibly because I was going through, you know, shit that I don't want to remember at that time that is separate of COVID, you know. But
Oh,
I'm good.
okay.
The older I get, the easier it is for me to just let go, let it go, you know, block shit
Yeah.
out. Like I'm just
Well,
getting happier and
right.
forget the trauma shit. I gotta let it go.
Yeah, I noticed the older I get, the less I care what other people think about me. I think when you're young, you really, especially a teenager, you're really trying to impress everybody and fit in and be cool. And then the
Yeah.
older you get, you're like, I just want to be happy. I don't give a
Yep.
shit.
Yep. 100%. I hated myself and everybody else for a long time. And now I'm just like, I don't know. Everything's good at the moment. I'm sure I'm sure there'll be a time again in life where I hit a low, but right now, feeling good, feeling mentally in a good place and like don't really care. I mean, obviously it's nice when people admire your work or admire who you are as a person or say nice things to you, but it doesn't fucking matter. You know what I mean? Nobody really cares. So it's like I'm just at a place where as long as I'm happy, then I'm happy, if that makes sense.
Right. Well, and you have such a built-in fan base of loyal fans that
Yeah.
are going to love everything you do. Yeah, there's going to be those
I've got a
people.
built-in fan base of haters too. I've got both things. You know what I mean? It's like,
Well, yeah, okay, there's that too. But like, yeah, I mean, if you're happy and then it's not like you're just making music for like 3 people. I mean, you have hundreds of thousands of subscribers and followers that are following your music and coming to your shows. So, I mean,
sure,
it's
yeah.
not you have a sense of purpose, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the song Champagne at Our Funeral, is that one of the dark times too? Because that's a really interesting song. And the vocals are so different. Like in the other ones, like in Run for Your Death, you're like
Mm.
screaming, and then in Champagne at Our Funeral, it's almost like you're like speaking vocals at the intro. And you could tell, I mean,
Yeah.
you're very clear what the words are. It's clearly about a bad relationship. I'm assuming it's based in reality. It could be fictional. I don't know, but
I don't know how to write fiction. I mean, look, I don't think it was based on a bad relationship. I think it was based on a relationship that didn't work out, and then having certain feelings about it, which range in that song from fuck you, but also like, well, congratulations to us because we got past this and it's better for both of us that we're not together.
mm,
And there's tender moments in that song where I'm talking about very specific, isolated moments that are beautiful and sweet, like going to Coney Island and taking a
yeah.
walk, prospect partnership, but also like, you know what, but also fuck you. It's both things. You know what I mean?
Huh.
There's a duality within that song. It's not that the relationship was bad, so to speak, it just wasn't correct at the time. But yeah, it's a darker song. And yeah, I definitely explore with my vocals. I don't want to ever make an album that sounds linear the whole way through. Like what the fuck is, that's boring to me. I want to make sure that I'm taking you on a journey and showing you with my tool, which is my voice, right? A range of emotions, because that's what life is.
Exactly. No, I love that. I love the journey. It's like I said, the use your illusions. I mean, I love those kinds of albums that take you on a journey. That's the perfect description. And yeah, that song, the Champagne or Funeral. I mean, you're right, very specific. So whoever it's about, like she's gonna know when she hears that.
Hmm.
Yeah. And then I mean the 8th of October, that's another like kind of a slower song that's it also seems kind of dark.
Hmm.
Was that written during 2020 as well?
No, no, that was written in the studio this year, and that one is probably the most like unique for me, I guess, in a sense. It's almost got a country flair to it. Not country, but like it's almost like notes of modern country in there. Some of the like singer-songwriters, your Zach Bryans and shit like that. You can kind of, which I had never heard of him before we wrote that. But then I'm like, that's a song he could have done. And then at the end, of course, you've got that sweet little Allman Brothers outro, which brings kind of a hopefulness to that. So that song's about two different people, right? It starts off about this one relationship that was, you know, great, but didn't work out. And then halfway through the song, I start speaking to another person who is my new relationship. And I learned over this past year how to fall in love again. And I didn't think I was going to be able to. So that time period between October 8th and August 17th was one of the darkest periods of my entire life, especially most recently. And I was living like kind of out of control. And during that time is when a lot of the other songs, like Suicide Machine, they were all born from that period of darkness. And then, I had this one near-death experience, and shortly after that, met the new love of my life. And so I sang the second half of that song to her. She kind of pulled me out of a terrible place and helped me pull myself, I should say, out of a terrible place. I had to help myself as well. And I think that, I like the placement of that song on the album, because at the very end of it, we're now talking about actually being able to love again. And then that instrumental part at the end of it is just so upbeat and so hopeful, and it kind of flips it around. It goes from being this dark thing to like, not gonna fuck it up this time, and we go into a fucking Allman Brothers jam, And I think that that's kind of like a sweet note to end the album on. There is one song after that, but that one kind of ends that story, that sub story within the album.
Wow, that's really cool. Well, so was the near death experience, did that change your perspective on life? Because my dad actually wrote a book about near death experiences and all that stuff. And I find the topic so fascinating. Did you see the white light and all that stuff? Or what was your experience like?
Yeah, not a white light so much, but I guess I found my own version of God. It's not religious. I'm not like, I don't subscribe to any one religion, nor do I care if anybody else does. You know what I mean? I'm not
Hmm.
pro or anti-religion, but I think I have my own divine moment, whatever that is. And look, I've had near-death experiences before. I've had a lot of traumatic things happen, but this one in particular, like really woke me up. And I kind of realized like, oh, that was close, bro, and you're not being healthy, and you've gained 65 pounds, and you're just living recklessly, and you're not taking care of yourself and your mental health and your emotional health and your physical health. And simultaneously, you have this opportunity to work in Muse's studio and make a new album, and there's people out there that want to hear you keep going. And beyond that, I was like, wait a minute, I want to keep going. I don't know. I can't tell you why, but like literally had a moment that just changed my life, and for the better, and like renewed my sense of wanting to live. Not that I wanted to die. I just didn't care. I didn't care. You know what I mean? I was like, fuck it. Doesn't matter. And now I'm like, no, wait a minute. I'm going to die someday, and that will be out of my control. So while I'm here, I need to like appreciate and be grateful of all the things that are in front of me and just have fun. If my mindset is fuck it, nothing matters, well then my mindset should be fuck it, nothing matters. Do you know what I mean? You just fucking flip that narrative a little bit and you got a whole new outlook. And yeah, that's what happened to me.
Wow, that's amazing. That's great advice. I mean, you just feel like that's a good advice for other people too that are struggling or going through a dark place. Cause I mean, it's very common, especially after the pandemic. A lot of people, there was a lot of darkness. So that is that you feel like that's for a lot of people need to do that? Maybe start taking better care of themselves and live life to be happy.
I mean, for sure. I don't want to like pretend that I'm a great therapist for anybody, but
No.
and everybody's different, but I think certainly if you can work on loving yourself and forgiving yourself and just trying to find the beauty in the little things like touching a flower. It sounds stupid, you know what I mean? But yeah, once you get to the point where you're, oh, nothing matters, this is all pointless, then you can have the same thought. You can have the same thought, nothing matters, it's pointless. And you're right. But now say that with a smile a few times in the mirror and like lighten up and like, wow, I'm having the same thought. None of this fucking matters. It doesn't fucking matter. But that is so freeing. If nothing matters, then goddamn, my whole brain is unlocked. Now I want to try everything I possibly can because nothing matters. You know what I mean? So yeah, I guess that would be my advice. Try to lighten up. It's like
Yeah.
not everything has to be so easier said than done. You know what I mean? Like, you
Right.
have to be farting well, and I do think that is part of taking care of yourself. Again, I put on a lot of weight because I just wasn't living right, and then I've managed to lose 35 of that since that day, and I have another 30 to go. But I'm feeling great. I'm on my path towards like reclaiming control of my own body, and so that I think is also helpful. I think that the physical and the mental are tightly related.
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, that's all psychology is, thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. It's really hard to control your feelings and be like, okay, don't be sad, but you can control your behaviors and change things that you're doing. How did you lose the 35 pounds? Like, if you don't mind me asking, like what techniques worked for you? Cause I know different things work for different people, but
Yeah, so a lot of it was like cutting out carbs, cutting out sugars, cutting out alcohol in the form of like beers and shit like that, like carbohydrates type shit, and then just keeping your body moving all the time. And I definitely fucked around with semaglutide a little bit, not to like an extreme, but it was a good way to curb the appetite. The rich people fat drugs, you can find them from compounding pharmacies where they add like a B12 in there, and then suddenly it doesn't cost $1,000 a month type of thing. So I think the pre-diabetic medicine, Ozempic, Wegovy, Manjaro, I think are the names of the brand things. Those can be really helpful. Like my family has a history of diabetes and shit like that, and I am not, but I don't want to ever get there. So yeah, between that and just like literally putting in the hard work and going to the gym and walking the dog longer and food is such an important part of it. If I am eating Cheez-Its every night at 3 a.m, nothing's going to happen. But if instead I'm working on vegetables and whole foods, as boring as that is, it changes your body composition drastically. And then, yeah, if I'm drinking, a lot of people have this fanfic like, oh, he must have gone sober. Like, I don't go fucking go sober, but like, I'm not going to have 12 beers each night. You know what I mean? I'm going to have like a Topo Chico with 70 calories and maybe a couple shots of something clear. Boom. Now I haven't, added 2,000 calories into the daily regime.
yeah. Do you try? Cause I use that like MyFitnessPal. I track all my calories. My trainers
I
want me to
can't
get
do
like,
it. Good for
really?
you. I can't do it because if I start looking at numbers too much, if I start to compulsively look at a scale or anything like that, then like if I have a day where the scale goes back up a pound or two, you know how that happens, like
Oh yeah.
could be water weight or fucking salt.
Mhm.
Or if I look at my steps and I've only hit 12,000 instead of 14,000 from the day before, and I just have no more, I'm gonna get depressed. I'm gonna be like, oh, I failed.
Mhm.
And I'm beating up on myself. Good for you that you can do that. I can't do it. I get too like obsessed with it and mad at myself. So I try
Yeah,
to.
no, I think I get obsessed too, but I do get mad at myself, but I just want to get in shape so bad that I'm like, God damn, why did I do that? And I just try
Yeah.
I just keep trying. I
I
think
mean, I
that's the
guess
thing is it's
It's
okay
good to
to
be mad at
fail.
yourself. Yeah, it's okay to fail, and it's good to be mad at yourself. Sometimes you can use that motivation. I found personally for me, and everybody's different, right? That I'll just obsess. So I try to like go off of feel instead of counting. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
I know at this point whether or not I've had too much for the day.
Right.
I don't need to like obsess over the package because then life becomes too miserable for me. For me, I
Yeah.
try to
Well, I mean, if it's working and you lost 35 pounds, that's awesome.
35 pounds.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. And you sound happier and you're in a better place. I mean, that's all that stuff is great.
Yeah, I'm totally. I know that man, I've been happy and sad so many times in my life. I know that like at some point I will be sad again. Something will
Right.
happen that will fucking bring me down. And so in this current moment, the fact that I am happy, I'm loving every second of that. You know what I mean? And just kind of, I think, I don't know how old you are. I'm 38 years old. I'm headed towards my back half, and I'm starting to
Hmm.
realize like, damn, there's only so many days left. So many,
Yeah.
I can choose to be happy or sad. And so again, just going back to what we were saying earlier, it's just like lightening up and I've managed to find a way to do that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm 46. So I'll tell you, to me, it's like, I love it. I love the older I got, like my 20s sucked. It was all over the place. And it was the
Yep.
same thing. It was like happy, sad. It was like, what's going on? And then I think you just get better at dealing with it. And then you just, yeah, you realize you're like, oh, none of this shit matters. Like, I
Yep.
don't care what other people think about me. I don't care if I screwed up. Like, it's okay to fail. All the stuff that seemed like we were raised to try to be perfect at least in my generation. Like, don't make a mistake. You got to be perfect. And then the older you get, you're like, oh, none of this shit matters. Let's just have fun.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, this new album, I don't know if I got the date. When does it come out to the
So
public?
As Above, So Below comes out July 19th worldwide. We have 4 different vinyl options, and I'm really excited about that.
Hmm.
Kind of a fan of like the physical and the tangible. I'm also from a generation where you remember like how important
Oh,
CDs
yeah.
were. We're releasing it on CD as well, which a lot of bands aren't doing these days. The physical portion of it is very important to us. The artist that did the work was name is Mr. Babies. You can find him on Instagram. Shout out Mr. Babies. And I think that the whole spread when you open up, it's 2 different vinyls because there's even though there's only 11 songs, the album is an hour long. And if you try to put all of that into one vinyl, the quality is going to be worse. So we swallowed the cost. We ate the cost. You lose a few bucks per print, but like whatever, I'd rather have the fidelity come through. Snob, nerd alert. I'd rather have that come through on a heavy weighted vinyl than to cheap out in that area because people are paying good money for something physical and tangible that the vinyl market has kind of resurged and shit like that. So we made them really nice and really decent and gave people a bunch of different colorway options to choose from. As far as streaming, it's on every platform worldwide, July 19th. And then next Tuesday, I believe, on the 18th of this month, we're going to put out our second single. None of these songs are singles in the sense of like they're a radio single. We have a couple that didn't make the album because they didn't fit the story. And we might
Hmm.
put those out after the album, but we wanted the album to be, a certain thing. So as we release singles before the album comes out, because we're going to put out 1, maybe 2 more, just know they're not like this is their single that they're going to try to push it radio to chart. It's not like that. We're just giving out a couple songs for people to kind of get a taste before the album drops.
Is Suicide Machine the next single?
I can't tell you what the next single is.
Okay,
Yes, I
because
can.
that's one of my favorite. Also Mexico, and then yeah, the Melatonia. Like I said, that was it. I mean, they're all great. Like it just
Thank you.
depends.
Yeah, so I'll tell you the next single is going to be The Blue-Eyed Devil, and I can tell you that because people have already figured it out from my
Oh,
teaser. And then Suicide Machine, that's the song that I think radio might enjoy. Like honestly, I think that
yeah.
could do well there. And so I think that we're gonna, get kind of a reading back once we put the album out and see what song people are or what songs people are really fucking with heavily overall and kind of get some analytics back before choosing to put like a hard push and campaign behind any individual song because we've done that in the past when you're like, all right, this should be the one. This is the one we're gonna really hype up, and then you're wrong. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Like Lydia was never supposed to be that fucking blew my mind. The fact that that did well at radio, blew my mind and it blew all of our minds. We don't know. We don't know what's going to be the one. You can think what you think, and then the audience will tell you differently. So we're just going to play it by ear, see what songs people are really fucking with, and then give those some special love when it comes to playing them on late night shows or doing things to help promote them to reach a higher height. If that
You
makes sense.
have those kinds of gigs. You're doing late night shows. Are you doing like Eddie Trunk, all the bigger shows and stuff?
Yeah, we're definitely going to be doing some late night shows and all the wonderful things that give me so much anxiety. We'll be doing those.
Oh shit, really? I thought it'd be fun.
It's difficult. Obviously grateful for the opportunity and the ability to do it, but those studios are not designed for bands. They're designed for
Right.
camera television. So the audience is like 50 feet away from the stage because you've got
Mm,
cameras on cranes, and then you don't have your whole dialed in PA sound system. You don't have your monitor mix. It's, somebody is up running the board that um, does mixes for TV, and what they're used to working on is like microphones that clip to your shirt and stuff like that. So it's fun, but it's just kind of a little bit impersonal because you don't see the audience. And not only that, that audience is not there for you. They're just people that were on the street that got the free ticket to go see, Conan or whatever, whoever it is,
right.
uh, to do something for the day. Like if you've been to like Times Square or whatever, and they're just handing out tickets. Hey, come into the thing tonight. Be a free audience member. So nobody really is there to see you, but it's super beneficial, right? Because then your music goes out to a million people or whatever instantly. But it's nerve-wracking to do it for sure.
Yeah, no, it's different. So what you'll do, obviously you're gonna do live shows too. Do you have a tour lined up or
Yep,
can you
can't
say?
announce that one yet. We just sold out our summer tour, which we're just doing for the first time ever, an album from top to bottom. We've never done that, so that'll be exciting. And then we might encore a few of the hits or the classics afterwards. But it's the main show is specifically for this album, and we let everybody know that before we sold the tickets. That way, nobody's like disappointed if they show
Yeah.
up and they're not seeing a classic show. So that's just a small tour, but that sold out relatively quickly. And then soon, I honestly can't. I'll get in trouble, but I can't drop the dates for the next tour. But there will be a fall tour in the United States. I can tell you that. We will be headed to the UK. We will be headed to New Zealand. We will be headed to Australia. We will be headed to Europe. We will be doing festivals next summer. All the things. It's going to be a wild ride.
Can you
Full on.
say, are you a headlining act? Is it a co-headlining or are you opening for someone?
No, we're going to headline, and
Okay.
I think next year I would love to, open for some. Like I'll open for anybody. I think when we started this, I was like, I got to be careful who I open for because I don't want to be associated with this, that, and the other. And now I
But you got to
realize like
open for Muse. That's fucking
that's
badass.
that was amazing. But now I'll open for anybody. I don't give a fuck. I'll come and take your fans. You know what I mean? Like I don't care who it is. I'm
Yeah.
not snob. I enjoy it, and I really enjoy going out with bigger bands and more successful bands, not for necessarily the exposure, but more so like to learn how they're,
Ah,
like how what does it take to get to that arena level production and that stadium level thing, and what is your crew like, and how are you doing this on such a different level than like a club band, and I'm hoping
yeah.
to
What
learn.
did you learn from Muse then? Because I mean, that must have been fast.
What did
Their
I not
show is
learn from
insane.
Muse? Yeah, what
Like
did
the
I not
special effects and stuff. And
Yeah, I learned that what I need to do next time is have a bunch of hits in the early 2000s when rock and roll is extremely important. And I'll be
all
just fine. If I
right.
could do that, I learned find a time machine, go back to 2002. No,
Because I love the new stuff they're putting out, and I love that song "Psycho," and I think that was not the early 2000s. That was like
hmm,
the mid. That was like 10 years ago. That song's fucking
sure, yeah,
awesome.
but they built such a great core
Yeah,
fan base early on. But I think we're on the right track. We're doing just that. We're building our core slow and steady. I mean, I look at bands that go like this, and what does a rocket ship do? It gets to the top, and then the boosters fall off, and then it might
hmm.
explode, and then it comes down just as fast.
Or what if you just had one really big hit, but then that's all people know you for? I feel like that's way worse.
Yeah, that'd be maddening. And I have a lot of friends that are in bands that are like that, and we came real fucking close to being that band as well. And I think that we're lucky that our trajectory has just been kind of a slow and steady, little dip here, little up here, and
Yeah,
more of a long. I want to do this for many decades to come. I enjoy what I do a lot.
you're good
So
at it. Yeah, you
thank
guys
you
kick
so much.
ass.
Thank you. But yeah. So I think that what did I learn from Muse? I don't know what I didn't learn from Muse. I definitely learned that fucking production is half the show. Like I love that we haven't relied on it. We don't have all the inflatables and all the things that they incorporate into their show, but it's so cool the theatrics they bring into it. So that's what I want to work towards. I can't afford what they're doing right now, but I think that if I get creative with the budget I do have, and we're going to try to do this fall is bring a show like we've never brought before. And I don't mean relying on laser lights, but like taking very simple key elements and props and set design and blocking things out and making it more of a theatrical play that has music in it versus just, hey, here's a couple of dudes in a bar room. I think that'll really be fun to try out. You know what I mean? And whether or not that works for us, I don't know, but that's what I want to try, is bring some new elements to the show visually.
Awesome. I look forward to it. If you come to Phoenix or anywhere nearby, I'll definitely come see you. I've never seen you guys live. I think it'd be amazing.
Oh, you got to come out. It's a whole different game, for real.
Yeah.
Like, really different.
Hopefully, yeah. And it's like, well, it was different because I was working like in a 9 to 5, and so you guys would do a show on like a Tuesday. I'm like, damn it, I got to work now. I create my own schedule. So if you do a Tuesday, I'm there. I don't care.
Oh yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I kept you over. I apologize, and I'll let you get going.
I appreciate you taking the time to speak with me. Honestly, grateful for it, and I hope to see you in Phoenix.
Yeah, I thank you for doing this interview. I appreciate it. Have a good one.
You too.
All right. Bye-bye.